Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful, for the faithful. I'm Bruce McCurdy with the Edmonton Journal's Cult of Hockey, and I'm here tonight with my colleague Kurt Leavins from Pender Island in British Columbia, where Kurt appears to be in contact with us by candlelight tonight. Kurt, what's going
Well, not too far off, actually. We have a windstorm out here on the West Coast, and the power is out, but my backup source is running my Wi-Fi, and I had charged up my phone in advance, and I have an oil lamp behind me.
on? Well,
and
it seems appropriate.
I'm serious about the oil lamp, and so
Uh-huh.
I had enough juice to watch the rest of the game and do the podcast with you.
Yeah. Well, the oil lit the lamp 7 times tonight, so maybe that's an appropriate thing to have. Edmonton beat Chicago 7-3 and a pretty overwhelming performance by the Oilers. They clearly did not want to go into the break with another loss under their skin, so they made sure and they made short work in about a 10-minute span in the second period when they pumped four in a row past Peter Mrazek between 6:37 and 14:48. So 8 minutes and 11 seconds. It went from 1-1 to 5-1, and then it was just time to attend to details like get Evander Kane off the schneid.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the very late going, it's a very special moment when tonight's emergency backup goalie for the Oilers, one Matt Berlin, with a 4-goal lead, was given the nod to come in and play the last almost 3 minutes of regulation. Turn aside every shot he faced, and got the huge congratulations from the Oilers at the end. That was fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
How pumped the team was by this event. You know, this is one of those things that happens once in a long while. Maybe once every couple of years you have to dress an e-bug.
Right.
But not very often the guy actually has to come in and play. And tonight he didn't have to come in. It was a choice.
Yeah.
And it was a choice earned by the fact that the Oilers had such a big lead that they didn't, they weren't taking any serious chances by doing what they did. And they gave the kid the thrill of a lifetime.
Yeah, two
So,
things. One,
yeah.
I hear that there's already the nickname going around the internet, the Berlin Wall,
Mm,
which I think is pretty fitting.
yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I think it was super classy of Jay Woodcroft to do that. He
Yeah.
didn't need to do that,
Hmm.
but the fact that he did and how his team and how the crowd reacted to it, pretty clear that was not only a good human being call, but the right hit that pushed all the right buttons. It was pretty spectacular.
The crowd loved it. The players loved it. You know, what's not to love? So
Kid got on Hockey Night in Canada. It was pretty
yeah,
awesome.
sure did. Yep. I see the green and gold goalie gear in there. And anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about the Berlin Wall at the end of towards the end of the podcast. But we got lots of other things to talk about, including our usual two bad things, and two numbers. And of course, with a 7-3 blowout win, we're going to do two good things each. And I'm going to, as usual, Kurt, turn to you for the leadoff item.
Well, we already talked about one goaltender. I'll talk about the other one here. Jack Campbell, who since Christmas has played way more like the Jack Campbell that Ken Holland thought he was signing in the offseason, was pretty solid tonight. And I'll admit, I was concerned partway through this game because the Blackhawks were hanging around. And, they have just enough good players. If they hang around, they can win a game. Anybody can beat anybody in any given night in the NHL. And at one point, the game was 2-1, and the Blackhawks sprung for a 3-on-1. And I forget who the third guy was. Maybe you remember, Bruce, but I know that Taves and Domi were the other two guys.
Right.
And so down they came, Oilers leading 2-1. Down the ice they came in the second period on a 3-on-1. A puck goes to Taves. Taves gets a good shot away. Terrific save by Jack Campbell. They go right back down the ice and score the 3-1. And to me, that flipped the switch, and away the Oilers went from there. It went from Chicago hanging around, to that's when the dam broke. And I think I can circle on my score sheet the point where that happened, and it was the big save by Jack Campbell. Club turned it the other way, gained the 2-game lead, and I really thought they just steamrolled Chicago after that. So Jack Campbell's save when the game was still 2-1 is my first good thing of the game.
Right on. All right. Well, I'm going to talk of I think the game that the Oilers' big guns had tonight, and this was all of oh, good, they fixed it. All the guys that scored 3 points tonight, which include Connor McDavid, who's got 2 assists on the power play. Edmonton's first 2 goals came on their old reliable power play. And then they finally got the 5-on-5 game going with Connor scoring the winner on the old Gretzky play where he set up behind the net, tried a couple of passes from there, and then finally made what Gretzky used to do once in a while from his office, which is walk right out from behind the net on the backhand side, come right out into the slot and pound a backhand shot. Wayne used to put it right in the roof of the net. Connor put it just inside the post, far post, but same outcome. That turned out to be the game winner. Zach Hyman had another big game, a goal and 2 assists, and just all around the puck as usual, and all around the net, casting screens. Like he gets. There are goals scored where he doesn't get a point, but he gets a plus mark from us at the Cult of Hockey for making a positive contribution to the goal. Typically a goalie screen or causing some kind of chaos in the range, or even simply winning a battle, which doesn't necessarily result in a scoring point, but it results in Edmonton keeping possession that eventually leads to the goal. And we saw basically all of those things from Hyman tonight. And we also had, of course, Leon Draisaitl bouncing back from I thought was an awful game on Wednesday against Columbus. That was a very poor game by Leon, and he knew it, and he played like he knew it. He brought his game. He brought his 2-way game for the most part. He won a lot of puck battles, and he distributed. I mean, there was one play in the second period where he came back and lifted a stick on the back check, immediately turned and rifled a perfect stretch pass to McDavid for a breakaway. Maybe that was early in the third period. Anyway, it was I think McDavid had maybe 4 breakaways in this game of different types. 2 that were sort of true breakaways, and 2 where he got sort of in behind everybody, and he couldn't score on those, but he sure was making sparks fly. And that particular time, Dry set him up. And of course, Dry pounded home 1 goal, got absolutely rooked out of another one by a weak, lame, pathetic goalie interference call where McDavid basically didn't even touch the guy. Mrazek just lost his post and fell off the post and then left the side open for the rebound, which Leon promptly deposited. And the ref in the corner decided that he'd seen goalie interference on the play. And just incidental contact. It wasn't a penalty or anything, but the Oilers could have probably challenged it, and good chance they might have won. But I think Woodcroft thought it's 5-1. There's 2 minutes left in the second period. We challenge it. The first thing we do is we piss off the ref who just made that call. But secondly, it costs us a power play. Chicago scores and gets a bit of life. It's just I think he just kind of made a defensive non-call, Woodcroft, and not challenge.
Yep,
I think he had a really good case.
Too. Yeah.
And then the final of the 3-point guys, and this will be enough good things for one good thing. Darnell Nurse, 3 assists, +3, and all over the ice in a very good way for the most part. I saw him real good in this game. Very dynamic. We saw the dynamic Nurse tonight, and he was skating and he was creating stuff in the offensive zone. And he came in for his own shot and a close-in rebound on the goal that McLeod picked it up and he banked it in off of Seth Jones from behind the net. and puck just barely went over the line. Originally, they scored it unassisted, but they fixed that, and it was. But he was in the middle of those. Those weren't cheap assists, really, any of them.
Nope.
And I like this game a lot, and I will just I'll stop there for my first good thing, because that's already four. That's what, $36 million in salary I probably mentioned already. So that's that takes a pretty wide swath of the team. But the good news here is that the big boys showed up to play and played well.
Yeah.
And you can Nugent Hopkins, he only had 2 points. Tyson Barrie, he only had 2 points, both goals. Ryan McLeod, 2 points. So they were really producing all up and down the lineup.
Well, my second good thing, I'll bounce right off that, because I saw the exact same game that you did tonight, Bruce. And this game was in stark contrast to the Columbus game, which, quite frankly, pardon my French, pissed me off. I just think
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I just think this hockey team is better than that. I don't mean any disrespect to Columbus, but if you really want to win your division, you've got to win those damn games. And I thought the Oilers in the Columbus game came out and were the best team for over the first 6, 7, 8 minutes. Then I thought they got frustrated and they started trying for stretch passes. They ended up with unforced icings. And I honestly thought their impatience gave that game away. And they were full measure for the loss. I wasn't even angry when they lost in overtime, because I kind of thought halfway through the game, I thought to myself, they're going to lose this.
But we got a point.
Yeah, right. But this is the Chicago game, not the Columbus game.
Right.
But I thought to myself, well, let's see if they learn something from that and come to this game tonight and mean business. And I really thought they did tonight. A way more complete game, a very contained game. You didn't see a bunch of those stretch passes this time. Darnell Nurse was particularly guilty for attempting stretch passes that didn't come near anybody in the Columbus game. Whereas
11 icings in that game, Kurt. 11 icings.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that many, but you could count them one after another, that's for sure.
27 giveaways and 11 icings. That was my number last podcast.
Yeah, well, I can see why. Well, but you know what? Your point on that the big boys came to play tonight, those are also the leaders on this team. And, maybe as a group, they kind of looked at that effort against Columbus and said, that's just not good enough. And tonight, their effort was good enough plus some. So I'll give them credit for this. This is a game they needed to win, should have won, did win, and convincingly. And maybe that Columbus effort is the last one of those that we'll see this year, we hope, and cross our fingers. That's my second good thing.
Excellent. Yeah. I need to have a second good thing. I filled up the first good thing with good things, didn't I?
Used up all your ammo.
Yeah, well, much of my ammo. Well, I will give I'll give some credit to I think Evan Bouchard. I enjoyed his game. I thought he was way more alert and passing the puck with authority, shooting the puck with authority, and just sort of like he was one of the several players who was way off their game last night.
Yes.
Last time. And this time around, it was a much better effort and a much stronger positive with the the shots on net, the flow of play while he and Brobery were out there. And Brobery had a couple of sort of shaky moments, but I thought Bouchard was. I thought he was probably the better of that two tonight, and I haven't always thought that in recent times that they've been together. But just a little pat on the back for the guy. I mean, tonight he's got no points, 3 shots, 5 shot attempts, a takeaway, 2 block shots, nothing bad. On the no giveaways, and that's been part of his issue. And not that he was a particular standout in the game because it was a whole team effort. And if you prefer, my second good thing can just be that top to bottom, I thought the team put in a real solid effort, and they're all going to be getting passing grades tonight.
Yeah. Evan Bouchard, for my money, Bruce, when he brings added urgency to his game, he's fine. To me, that is his kryptonite. And I wonder sometimes if it came from playing too many, in the rocking chair 25-minute games in junior,
Right.
where honestly he didn't have to be that urgent to be successful at that level.
He was Chris Pronger at that level.
Yeah, he really was, right? But to your point, tonight I saw more urgency in his game. He was winning races to the puck. He was winning board battles. When I see those little things out of Evan Bouchard, I figure he's going to have a good night. And I agree with you. I thought he was solid.
Excellent. So what do you got for a bad thing?
Well, not much. And I hate to pick on this player because I'm a big fan of Dylan Holloway, and I've written about him many times in Nine Things. But I'll point out a mistake tonight. And it was late in the game, so the game wasn't in question.
Right.
But the Oilers are going up the ice, and it's 7-2. And Holloway goes up the ice. He gains the blue line, and then with time ticking down in the third period where you're ahead, at that point, you put that puck into the corner. You get it deep, and you make their defenseman go back and get it. Instead, after he stepped over the blue line, he tried to make a cute little lateral play. Gave the puck away, went right back in the other direction, and ended up in their own net. I think that Dylan Holloway's game has really grown progressively through the season, and we're seeing these things fewer and fewer. But you can still see the fact that he's a rookie playing in the NHL. Matthias Janmark, for example, when he gains the blue line in that situation, he'll dump it into the corner, and that's the play that Dylan Holloway should have made with that too. I tapped him primarily at fault for that goal. And it's a tough lesson for him to learn. I guess at least he's making that mistake in a 7-2 game, where it's a teaching moment and not a you cost your team the game moment.
Right.
All rookies make mistakes. I don't mean to bash on him, but that's one of those. As he was skating up the ice, Bruce, I was saying, just get it deep, kid, just get it deep. But then he tried that lateral pass, and boom, jailbreak the other way.
Blind pass, he passed behind the back, basically across the zone, and it got picked. And then the defensemen were scrambling hard from that moment on.
Yeah, plain recovery. And I'll give him credit. The kid busted his ass and got back into the play. But the fact of the matter is, it was his mistake that caused the turnover and the rush in the other direction to begin with. So. Live and learn. He'll be fine. I like the role Jay Woodcroft has him in now, and I've been critical of Jay Woodcroft's handling of him this year. I think right now he's actually in a pretty good spot, but plays like that, he's going to have to learn from.
Yeah, that's right. And my we've been talking a fair bit about him making rookie mistakes this year, and the times I've been more critical of him is when he makes the same mistake that he's made before, and where you hope he does learn from it, like bad line changes. Dave and I have had a couple of back and forths about that, where he just kind of abandons his position to make a change because his line mates are changing. And usually when your line mates are changing is the very time to not make a change, so you can do it sequentially rather than have all three forwards at the bench or all six forwards at the bench at once, because you got three coming off and three going on. And he's made that mistake a couple of times, and that's probably the harshest criticism I had for him at any point. But he's just oozing with talent. He makes, you see these little snippets and vignettes every game of real good partial plays. He just doesn't quite finish somehow. The pass gets deflected away at the last minute after he's made a good rush and move and picked out the right pass receiver, but it just doesn't quite click. But you can just see the potential And this is a guy who's got a long track record of coming into a league being pretty average the first year he's in it and then tearing it up the second year. And I'm not saying he's going to tear up the NHL, but I am saying he's going to be better
Yep.
in year two and probably by a significant amount. So.
Yep, the game will slow down for him. You know what I mean? He'll see things more clearly at ice level the more reps he gets. It's we'll just have to be patient and sit through the odd one of these because they are going to happen. Just like we've seen from Evan Bouchard, right? It's just it comes with the game when a rookie is trying to perform at the NHL level.
Right. All right. Well, my bad thing. I don't have much bad to say about this game, and I already kind of talked about the thing I'm going to pick, which is that call on the on what should have been Draisaitl's 30th goal of the season on the goalie incidental contact ruling, where, yeah, isn't it refs? Wouldn't the ref be better off to say it's a goal and let Chicago challenge it?
Yeah.
You know, if it's obvious, they're going to challenge it and it's going to get called back. In the end, like when I first saw it, I thought he didn't really touch him. And Mrazek just lost his post and fell back, making the first save. Like Mrazek is not exactly your great positional goalkeeper. And it was, to me, it was a goaltending mistake.
Yes.
And Draisaitl immediately made him pay for it, but Stripes let him off the hook. In more general terms, my bad thing is that McDavid only got 3 points tonight, not 7 or 8 like he could have had, because he had all his breakaways and he couldn't finish any of them.
Yeah.
And it was a night where they really could have made hay, and in the end, they, obviously they had pretty good games, but there was more there tonight than what they wound up getting, but mostly what they got was the 2 points, and that's really all we care about. So.
You know, the officiating overall, I thought was pretty shaky in this game. It had no bearing on the outcome whatsoever. But like I lost count of how many times they threw Leon Draisaitl out of the face-off circle, and it's like, come on, drop the puck.
Yeah. And they had there was a pretty lame too many men call in that game that I didn't like at all.
The puck hadn't even got to him, right? It's like, no, that was pretty. Yeah, sometimes I like to say this. Remember, Mr. Referee, we did not pay the admission to watch you.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, the PK killed 3 out of the 4 tonight, and they've been doing a hell of a lot better since Desharnais came into the lineup 8 games ago, and they're 7-0-1, and I think they've given up 2 power play goals in those 8 games, including the meaningless one in the third period tonight. So
yeah, I think Desharnais's done a nice job, and we're getting some stops now, Bruce, which is sure nice.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, let's move on to our numbers. Kurt.
My number is 8. 8 is now the number of Alberta Golden Bears that have now played an NHL regular season game for the Edmonton Oilers. Matt Berlin becoming the 8th with his 2+ minutes in the crease tonight. and the resulting post-game interview with Scott Oake on Hockey Night in Canada, and a save and the story he'll be able to tell his grandkids. It's we kind of opened the podcast with that, but when I saw that number go by, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And I thought it was notable when Derek Ryan came up and gave him a hug after the game.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, one former Golden Bear to another. I thought that was rather poignant as well. So.
How many of the 8 can you name, Kurt?
Oh boy, not very damn many, because I lifted the stat off of somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
So it's I didn't really have to do some research.
Randy Gregg.
Randy
is the obvious one. Right? Ian Herbers. Yeah. Kevin Primo played with the Oilers in WHA, and did he in the NHL briefly? He was from that great 3-in-a-row team.
Oh, yeah.
Claire Drake and Billy Moore's team. Of course, there have been many coaches, including Claire Drake, Billy Moore's, and Ian Herbers, that have all come from U of A. And the guy right now that was assistant here a few years ago. It's been there's been quite a few. Curtis Muka was one who got the chance as the e-bug, but play, dressed, backed up for an entire game, but never got that last minute chance.
Yeah.
The way that tonight's fella did.
Yeah.
Corey Cross would be one. Of course, Derek Ryan is one.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I should be able to name all 8 because I'm pretty sure I saw them all play with both teams.
You probably did.
So I think I'm up to 6 or 7 now. So
Kevin Primo played 7 games with the Oilers in the WHA.
okay.
He played 2 games with the Vancouver Canucks in the NHL.
Okay. All right.
So really good guess, but I think by the strict sense of the rule, he probably doesn't qualify. So
right, as long if it's Oilers, NHL Oilers that they played with, if it's WHA Oilers, then anyway, there's.
But in some frame, because you and I feel the same about the WHA. We're both WHA fans.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So what the hell? Let's count them.
So,
what's your number?
My number is 1,000, and that is the career save percentage of one Matthew Berlin. Right now, if you go to NHL.com and you click through statistics to individual statistics and click on goalies, and then if you click by season and you choose every season from 1917-18 when the NHL began to 22-23, and then sort the goalies by save percentage. Number 1 on the list, who just came up here in the last few minutes when we talked before the podcast, he wasn't here yet, Matthew Berlin, 1,000 save percentage. He's the 21st goalie to have that percentage in their careers, of which 3 played in parts of 2 games, and all the rest played in parts of 1 game. And the longest that any of them played was 30 minutes and 3 seconds. Cody Rutkowski. I remember the famous Robbie Irons incident in the 1968-69 season when he came in to replace and ejected Glenn Hall, the famous Stony Plain resident and former Edmonton Flyers 2-time Western Hockey League champion. And Hall was his first game wearing the mask, and he didn't like the mask, and he let in a bad goal, and then he snapped at the ref, and the ref kicked him out. And Scotty Bowman kept a youngster backing up because he didn't want Jacques Plante and Glenn Hall sitting on the bench for 40 games each of the year. So he had a third goalie, used them as the backup, and as soon as Hall got kicked up, Jacques Plante came down from the upstairs, put on the equipment as fast as he could, and came out to play because there was no rule against using the third goalie in those days. So the idea was if the backup did have to play, it wouldn't be for long. And in fact, Robbie Irons played 2 minutes and 59 seconds. And then Jacques Plante, the future Edmonton Oilers goalie, came out and replaced him. So Robbie Irons retired with a 1,000 save percentage on 1 save, 2 minutes and 59 seconds, and the distinction of playing in a game with both Glenn Hall and Jacques Plante, 2 of the greatest goalies of all time. How's that? And how's that for Scotty Bowman being ahead of the curve? This was a young Scotty Bowman in St. Louis. He had it all figured out with his 2 old goalies, how to ride them to maximum. They won the Vezina Trophy, and they had just a fantastic season. Anyway, now tied with them is Matthew Berlin, officially listed first because he's the most recent. 1 game, 1 shot, 1 save, 1,000 save percentage, 0.00 goals against average in 2 minutes and 26 seconds. And I would put the odds now very high that he will retire with those numbers as a permanent record of his employment in the National Hockey League. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. Congratulations to you, Matt Berlin.
Absolutely. 2 quick things off that. One, I just checked. He's up on Hockey DB now.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
His 1 game with the Edmonton Oilers is registered. Yeah, the guys at Hockey, they're great guys, by the way. I've talked with them a few times with my brothers and cousins and that kind of stuff, and they're terrific. So they've got his game is 2 minutes, his goals against average is 0, and his save percentage 1,000. So when it's on Hockey DB, it's the real
it's
deal.
NHL.com too, right? So he's in there. So I thought they might take him a while to, sort of add him to the list because he's sort of come out of left field. I mean, he's not the number one or even the number two at U of A
No.
because the team is on the road. The Bears are playing a road game tonight, so of course the regular goalies were there, and the number three that practiced with the team and might play a little bit, but he doesn't travel with them when the other two guys are healthy. So he was available as the e-bug, and he got his chance, and he seized the day. He carpied the DM.
And the other really cool angle here is that both he and Stuart Skinner were goaltenders together on the Southside Athletic Club.
Yep. This makes him the fourth member of that same team to play with the Edmonton Oilers this season, along with Tyler Benson,
James
Hamblin.
Yeah,
and of course Skinner is the poster boy of that set. The other guys have just been a little bit fill-in players here and there, and I mean, not much more of a small role in 2 minutes and 26 seconds. But it's amazing that powerhouse team, Edmonton Southside Athletic Club, the U15, I think they were at that time, and they were in the headlines at the time for being so good, especially Tyler Benson. But they were they were tearing it up, and now to see all these Edmonton, I would have to think that. I guess Skinner wasn't in the lineup today, so we didn't quite have a situation where we had two Edmonton goalies dressed because Skinner was the guy he replaced.
But two guys on the roster.
Kind of a cool story, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Incidentally, you mentioned Glenn Hall when I covered the Flames back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Glenn Hall was almost always up in the press box, and I frequently sat beside him.
Oh, yeah.
And
nice.
What a classy gentleman. And B, he tells fantastic stories. Just I couldn't begin to recount because he's such a good storyteller, plus all the experiences he had. So you mentioned Glenn Hall, so I kind of wanted to sneak that in here. So
Glenn Hall is one of my heroes, Kurt. I wrote a long story about him and the Edmonton Flyers when I was writing for the Copper and Blue a number of years ago. And my trick question was, I wrote it during the Stanley Cup Finals of 2010 when Chicago was playing Philadelphia. And I opened with a trick question, which goalie has won the cup for both the Blackhawks and the Flyers? Of course, the Flyers were the Edmonton Flyers that he played for, but rumor has it that the Philadelphia Flyers name came from the Edmonton Flyers, and of course, guys like Bud Poyle and Keith Allen that were running that team played on those Edmonton Flyers. Like there's a direct connection there.
Yeah.
So that kind of has a little bit of juice, but that's just a little. We're giving you some 60s and even 50s mandatory sports references. We usually only go back to the 70s, David and I. Tonight we're going to dig a little deeper because of the exceptional situation, and I just loved seeing how the team responded to that tonight. That was a real.
Yeah. And I wasn't able to see Jack Campbell's interview in Hockey Night in Canada just because I'm trying to save my battery power. But it looked like he was the happiest guy in the rink for Matt Berlin. You know, which is pretty par for the course for what we know about Jack Campbell's personality. But it was pretty cool to see the two goalies embrace there when they were cheering him on at the end. So.
Yeah, well, it's one of those sort of feel-good things that comes along once in a very long while, so we might as well celebrate it. I feel obliged. I'm going to have to give him a 10. I don't have a choice.
You can't give him an incomplete.
No, and I just anyway. He
achieved
a number of career firsts today, so I'm going to be giving him a few bonus points. First contract, first NHL game, and then those pristine numbers that I mentioned, and then of course this Hockey Night in Canada interview. That's got to add up to
for 10. Sure. If anybody gives you a guff, I'll back you up.
There's no other way to play it. I mean, we got to
completely.
If we were deadly serious about every single thing that we did here, then maybe we would say, well, that's just he came in and mopped up. But
didn't Sam Gagne get all 3 stars one night?
He did. He got a 10 too. I mean,
Yeah,
he got 8 points, so he got, he got a 10. And
Mm.
we broke a rule of rules on the night Ben Scrivens got the 59 save shutout, and Jonathan Willis gave him an 11. He had my full backing because that was so above and beyond the call.
I was
What
at
he
that
did
game.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something else. Yeah, the professor.
59 save shutout. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So, yeah, every once in a while, an Oiler does something special. And then in
Mm.
this case, it's, just a footnote in a way, but I just want, if you can't smile after that, then
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't want to finish that sentence.
Well, I'm sure glad I got to do the podcast with you after this game and not after the Columbus game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're doing a lot more sort of chuckling and laughing and
I can imagine.
virtual high-fiving tonight than David and I were doing on Wednesday night. But you know what? 7-0-1 in the last 8, right?
Nothing to sneeze
there's
at,
one
right?
little tiny black mark there, and it wasn't even like a regulation loss. It was just a point that got away, not an entire game. So
100%. Yep.
they've made some real major inroads on the standings in the last while. At a time when the Pacific Division's been pretty hot.
Well,
You look
going
at a
into
lot
the
of teams
game,
in their
weren't
last
the top
10
5
games are
teams
6-2
separated by
and
5
2.
points?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
all 5 of them. And let's just have a quick look here before we sign off. Where the Pacific, because a lot of teams are going to break now.
Yeah, I'm just going to do the same thing here.
Seattle 63, Vegas 62, Los Angeles 62, Edmonton 60, Calgary 57.
And
So
what is it by points
by
percentage?
percentage, it's Seattle 643, Vegas 608, Edmonton 600, Los Angeles 596, Calgary 570.
Right.
So we got 2 games in hand. Edmonton's got 2 games in hand on LA.
One on Vegas.
One on Vegas, who they're 2 points behind, so they can only tie them with a win. But LA, they're 2 points behind them with 2 games in hand, so they've actually got a better points percentage. So they're sitting pretty. And yet, you look at the last 10 games, and only Vegas is going down. Edmonton 7-1-2, so that's the best. Seattle 6-3-1, LA 6-4-0, Calgary 5-3-2, and Vegas 2-6-2, and their grip on first place has suddenly come unglued because they got injuries.
Yeah.
But it's been a division where you got to win just to hold your own some nights, and the Oilers have been doing that and even making up ground. So this has been a real key stretch.
Indeed.
So nice time, I guess, in a way, to be going into a break. And another way, you think, let's play again tomorrow. Let's keep going while you're going good. But on the other hand, they can go into this break with a smile on their face and enjoy a good vacation. And
rest up some bumps and bruises.
February 7th, they go on a 4-game and 6-day road trip in the East, and that will be the next test. But they're playing. They're not playing strong teams, but they're playing like a number of road games in rapid succession. So it's not an easy go at all. But anyway, that's what's next. But in the short term, we may have to do a 3-man podcast next week just to talk about the general state of the team, because we actually got enough of a break that we can step back and look at the big picture rather than zooming in on each night's game as it comes rapidly one after the other.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd be up for that, and the power should be back on by then, so you can count me in.
All right. Well, we'll be in touch about that, and we'll be in touch with you, the audience, about that. But for now, let's sign off on tonight's podcast with another thank you to Kurt for pinch hitting for David tonight.
Happy to be here.
Right on. And thanks to you, the audience, for listening. And in the meantime and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.